Hey, good evening, everybody. Mike Juba here with Mossy Jaw Custom Baits. Wanted to talk to you about jig colors, jig head colors, not necessarily skirt colors, but jig head colors. Well, let's just jump right in. Early spring, and when I say early spring, I'm talking here in northeast Oklahoma. I am talking mid to late February to late March. I am going to throw a jig, and I just have a couple of jigs here. Just jig colors is all I'm interested in. But I'm going to throw a color that is shiny. Now this one looks rough. The rough that's on it is actually red. Here's one, might not be as bad. That's red flake that's in that. That may look rough, but that's a pretty shiny jig. But in the early spring, I'm going to throw something that has a lot of shine on the jig. It's just old peanut butter and jelly. Got a little magic crawl in it. I just want something with a little shimmy in it. But I'm going to throw something similar to this because of that shiny head. The reason I'm going to use that shiny head, and I'm going to use a bait. Hang on just a minute. Don't give up on me. Oh, sorry about that. Not necessarily this color with this jig, but this is just for reference. I am going to use something that has a little more sheen to it, if you will. Those crayfish, they're coming out of their winter haunts, and I'm going to have something on here that has a little shine to it, has a little shimmer. Like I said, I'm probably not going to throw this black and blue on this particular one, although it's not bad. But I'm going to have something as far as color that has a little shine to it. Because those crayfish, when they come out in the early spring, they've got that shiny new coat, whatever it is. And I'm going to throw something as far as my jig head or even my sinkers, my weights. They're going to have something with a little more flash to it, if you will. Something just a little bit more shining. Now, as we get into the spawn, post-spawn, late last week of March, April through mid-May, I'm going to go something with a little more that's a little more muted, kind of a matte finish, if you will. If you can see that. Here's an old Arky jig. There's two there. You can see that real good. Those are matte finishes versus something that's more shining. Okay, early spring, spawn, post-spawn. Spawn, post, and again, I'm not interested in the style right now so much as the color of the head. I'm also going to tip my jig if I'm throwing a jig. Now this may have some shine to it just because of the oil that's on it, but once it's in the water, that's more of a muted finish on this particular hatchet crawl. Great trailer. I like it. In fact, let me just see if I can grab my mold here. This is my mold, and this is a Duets mold, and you can see that's not real shiny in here. It's more muted. Let's say, whoops, I don't need to grab two. then that's just, these have been abused. See how much, see, it's hard to tell maybe on camera. A lot more shiny as far as inside here where my finger is. Okay, this is more muted than this. You can even see the outside. This is more of a cast, if you will, versus CNC aluminum. So when I get to that spawn, post spawn, I'm going to use something that has a little more of a muted color. And again, that goes from my weight, my sinker, and I use 99% of the time I'm using a flipping weight. Titan tungsten, and I will use the kind of the black oxide color. It's more muted. It's more of a matte colored finish. But that's what I'm going to use versus a big moth that just flew in. A sinker that's got a lot of shine to it. Just one of their no chip flipping weights, and it's pretty shiny. I don't have it. They're out in my boat. I don't have any out here, but that's what I use. I'll throw a trailer. That's got some shine to it. As we transition back into that summertime, when those fish get out on those long points, those deep brush piles, I'm going to go back to shining. Okay. And I'm going to steer away from the matte finish and go to the shiny finish. Just because even at 26, 28, maybe 30 foot, that sunlight's still going to penetrate. And I want something that's just going to draw that bass's attention. When I hop it off of a rock pile, when I pull it up over in a brush pile and I'm soaking it, I want that bass not only to hear it, I guess, or with its lateral line, because they don't have ears like mine, but I want them to sense it with their lateral line, and then I want some visual contact made. And that shine in the summertime, it catches your eye. It will catch that bass's eye. Well, you can see here what I've done. If I'm in a brush pile, just an old trick, take you a skirt collar, and you can stiffen this up. Take your skirt tool and spread it out and slide it over your skirt or your brush collar, and that stiffens that up a little bit versus one without it. That's kind of off topic, but a squirrel moment there. And then obviously it's cut a little shorter too, which I obviously don't have skirts on these, but that goes all the way down past the hook barb, and this one is right to the hook barb. That's one of the things that I do. But again, going back to that color, that shine. Summertime, I'm going to use that shiny finish for my powder coats. That more of a shine in my jig trailers, whether it's a bug or a crawl, or even a brush hog style bait. I'm going to make sure that my plastisol and my colorant has some shine to it. I'm going to, when it starts transitioning back into that fall and winter, it's going to be those crustaceans, those crawdads, they've ran their course as far as their coats and what have you. That's when I'm going to go and make me a little crawdad trap. Go to Walmart, buy me a little crawdad trap. Heck, you can make one with a 2-liter bottle. Just cut the top off, poke it inside, put you some bait inside of it, some bacon or something. they'll crawl through the hole. They obviously they can't get out, but you could take that out, put it in 6-8 foot of water, and see just exactly what color the crawdads are, and whether or not their coat is muted or it still has some shine to it. But when it gets into that fall transition, one, I'll start steering away from bottom baits and using more moving baits, because they're concentrating, it seems like, more on shad, because they're feeding up for the winter. So that's just a couple of things. Am I an expert? No, if I was, I wouldn't be in education. I would be fishing full time. Those are just some of the things that I've learned, that I've visually seen, with the excuse me, with the advent of LiveScope. It has made it where I can see now and verify the shininess, if you will, of a bait on a ledge. Last year, June, July, August, obviously summertime here in northeast Oklahoma, bass are schooled up, and I was able to do very well in some tournaments, and I was focusing on bass that were in schools in deep water, but I was also focusing on I was in tune with my bait. I was using a big football jig, half 3/4 ounce, with a shiny powder coat, peas and carrots color type skirt, that had some sheen to it. I had a few strands of that Magic Crawl just so I get that little glimmer. And then my trailer, I had just a little bit of flash in it. And what I would do is I would take a little bit of this magic right here, just a little bit of silver. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking, this is a 1/4 ounce teaspoon, and I would use less than an eighth of silver flake in my trailers, whether it was a crawl, a bug, or a brush hog. And I would put that in there just so there would be that little bit of flash, because I wanted, when I hop that jig, or I popped that worm, or I soaked it over just on a brush pile, up and down, whatever, I wanted that bass to see that little glimmer of something, because they're curious creatures. They're a lot like deer. They see something, they will migrate to it and check out what it is. And if it's something edible, they'll 9 times out of 10 they'll eat it. That, again, it's my 2 cents worth. It's just my observation of things. Take with it what you want, but I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, throw a few comments. If you disagree, hey, that's great. I'm all about debate. And I'll say this, I like to be proved wrong, just because that takes the stubbornness out of me and what I feel. If somebody can, no, see, I think you're wrong there, I think you're wrong, and then validate how they feel they're right, and man, their case is good enough, it takes some of that old stubbornness out of me, and I think that makes me a better fisherman. So again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, throw a few comments at me. I appreciate it. We'll see you later.